To give you a brief agenda for today, we'll spend the first few minutes introducing, or for some of you, reintroducing you to our PPI team, and I will briefly explain the performance measurement process and its importance to grantees and to BJA. We will then wrap up with a question and answer session, and once again, we encourage you all to ask your performance measurement or management-related questions throughout the presentation. Our PPI team is available to assist you. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to our Planning, Performance, and Impact team. The Bureau of Justice Assistance PPI team provides wraparound training and technical assistance, data collection, and analysis to support grantees and federal staff from program inception to closeout. Our team consists of our team management, PMP Task Lead Allison Bodanza, and Deputy Task Leads Jimmy Spade and Christina Mariscal, who are responsible for team management and client coordination. The data analysis and performance measure review team, which works with federal staff to develop and revise performance measures and is responsible for reviewing your data for accuracy. The PMT help desk support team, who are on the front lines of responding to your needs and assist with reporting issues, navigation, and account creation. And finally, the training and technical assistance team, which develops and conducts training for grantees and federal staff, similar to the training that we're conducting today. The TTA team also responds to user help desk inquiries and requests for coaching. I want to take a second to specifically focus on our TTA and our TTA team, as we have the ability to respond to your individual inquiries and needs for training. As the BJA TTA specialist for the PPI team, my contact information is included in the chat and will be available at the end of this presentation. If you have specific questions about the TTA, we can provide you all as grantees. We're all happy and available to assist you as you report your program data. Before we transition into speaking about the PMT system, I first want to address performance management and its importance to the work you all do as grantees. Briefly, performance management is the process by which grantees regularly collect on their grant activities to determine whether they are implementing activities as intended and achieving their desired goals and objectives. Performance management, then, is the process that helps to tell the story of you, the grantees, and your programs through data and assessment. Performance measures are used to capture inputs, outputs, and outcomes over time. Use of performance measures allows for pre- and post-program implementation analysis that can be used to assess change as your program changes. BJ has established performance measures for each program. These measures can be found at the link shown on the slide and are included in your program solicitations as well. These measures may be updated throughout the life of your program. As grantees, understanding the importance of performance measurement ensures strong program development. It provides opportunities to improve existing programs and create ideas for new ones by showing raw outputs of program data. Performance management allows you, as grantees and BJA, to answer the who, what, where, and when of your programs. For BJA, performance measures provide a holistic view of your programs to identify areas of success and potential opportunities for improvement. In addition, this information allows BJA to identify and create targeted training and technical assistance to help you as the grantee as you continue through the performance management process. Not only that, but collecting measures also helps the Department of Justice comply with the reporting requirements of federal law. This includes the Government Performance and Results Modernization Act of 2010, the Digital Accountability and Transparency Act of 2014, and the Grant Reporting Efficiency and Agreements Transparency Act of 2019. Performance measures provide a tremendous benefit to you as a grantee. It can help you proactively address challenges and allows you to show the impacts of your program and organization. With that being said, I'd like to transition to my colleagues Alicia Hooks, who is our help desk support team lead, and Liz Wayne, our performance measurement system subject matter expert, to talk more about the PMT reporting system. So without further ado, Liz and Alicia.
Thank you, Kerwin. Good afternoon, everyone. The performance measurement tool is structured as their online questionnaire to make capturing data simple, and it contains a lot of information and tools to assist you in your reporting. And once you log in, you can find those tools on the Information and Resources page. To access the PMT, you'll visit the single sign-on page, which is linked in the slide, but also you can see the image to your left. The single sign-on page allows multiple OJP grant recipients to access all of their awards using one username and password. So if you receive funding from BJA and Office for Victims of Crime, you can log into the PMT with that one username and password and access those. Note that the information you log into the PMT with is going to be different from that in JustGrants. However, you can make it the same information, but just know that it's not inherently the same. You must actually have an active award that has been accepted in order for us to give you a username and password to the PMT. So please make sure that that is squared away prior to reaching out. Once your account is created, you'll log in just using that email address that you were given and the password that you set up. And then just note that the PMT system works best in Chrome versions 4.1 or higher and Internet Explorer version 11 or higher. The links for the PMT can be found in the slide, but you can also access them from any of the emails that you've received from us thus far. Next, we're just going to go over some of the helpful tips that address the frequently asked questions that our team for the help desk receives from grantees. So as you're working through, if you encounter error messages, follow the prompts to correct any errors or discrepancies within. And then you can always go back to the federal awards page to review your data entry status and the report status for the report as you go through, just to verify if you've completed any of your data, verify that you've completed your report. If you need to make any edits to the report, you actually have to reach back out to the help desk to have those reports unlocked. It's a very quick process. Just make sure that when you do reach out, whether it's via email or phone, that you're noting the reporting period necessary and the award, whether it's a federal award or a sub-award. The next bit here, the system will time out, and it does so after 30 minutes of an activity. To avoid having to re-enter your data, just make sure that you're saving often throughout the PMT. There are options to save, and then there's an option to save and continue. Just make sure you're doing that as you're going through, which again will prevent you from losing your data when or if the system times out for you. If you notice that your information is incorrect, whether that is your award amount or any information listed on the profile page within the PMT, verify that the information is up to date in JustGrants for those of you with federal awards. And then for those with sub-awards, make sure that information is correct with your grant administering agency. If all that information is correct, you can reach out to us at the PMT help desk, and we will make sure that we update that. View all reporting periods option that you'll see on the federal awards page. It'll be at the top for the federal awards page or for the awards page for the subrecipient. If you click on the view all reporting periods button within the system, you'll actually see a listing of all of the reporting periods that have passed, as well as, of course, your current ones. And it'll allow you to verify the status of your reports. This is helpful during the times when you receive the error message where the system tells you that you're required to report every 3 months and you believe you've completed your reporting. If you hit the view all options, it will show you which reports are missing, if any. If your organization has recently received an award from BJA and it's not appearing in the PMT, just make sure you check in the JustGrants system that you all have accepted that award. And then if you have actually accepted, then you will reach out to us at the PMT help desk for us to make sure that it is uploaded. Just note, if it is an award that does not report in the PMT, you will not see it. So verify that as well in JustGrants. The next bit we'll cover is the red buttons. The red buttons are used as indicators that there's action required on that specific page or just within the PMT in general. You'll select the red buttons throughout to complete your task, and then it'll take you to that next step. Just note that there are 2 versions of the PMT, version 1.0 and a version 2.0. You will not always see the red buttons in the version 2.0. On the data entry page, there's going to be underlined measures and questions. If you hover or click on them, you can get additional information that'll help you out as you're completing your report. Now I'm going to pass over to Liz, who's going to continue our slides here with more information.
Thanks, Alicia. Thanks, Kerwin, and hi, everyone. It's great to have so many people joining us today. Just as a note, most of the helpful tips that we're covering are also included in more detail with screenshots in our user guides that are available in our existing posted resources on BJ's performance measures page, which we've provided a link to in the chat. So if you want more detailed information, those would be the best way to find that. We're just covering helpful tips here. So I'll continue on with report creation error. So make sure all of your previous reports show a data entry status of complete and your report status shows as completed. This would be on your federal awards page in the PMT. If you do happen to experience an error that persists and you're unable to move forward, it could potentially be a system generic error, either impacting a widespread group, or it could be an isolated incident. So in any case, contact the BJA PMT help desk, and we'll be able to investigate it further and get you through. But you might get an error that gives you some further instructions on how to make corrections within your data entry. And these would include validation error checks that are designed to ensure data accuracy and integrity within the system. So follow the instructions if you see one of those nice errors. But if you happen to see a system generic error, again, that could be a widespread issue within the system or an isolated incident. So contact the PMT help desk and we'll walk you through that and get that fixed for you. The next one here is no grant activity. So this is a big one. Whenever you're reporting on your award, especially if it's a new award, every quarter the PMT is going to ask you whether you had grant activity that occurred during the reporting period. Reporting in the PMT begins based on the start date of your award. So it's very common within the first couple of quarters that you may not have any activity to report. You may still be in the planning phase, or you may not even received your award yet. In these cases, we do need to have a report from you that you can respond no to this. Was there any grant activity during the reporting period? And this will allow you to skip the performance measures. If it is during the reporting period, that includes narrative questions. You will still see those narrative questions, and this would be your opportunity to provide additional explanation in terms of the planning activities or the status of your award. But you do want to make sure that every single reporting period since the start date of your award is showing as complete on the federal awards page. So if you didn't have any activity, you can report no to skip the measures, and that would complete your report, providing an explanation as to why. This would allow you to skip the measures and not have to report all zeros. So this might apply to some of you. If you haven't completed any previous past reports and you go back into the PMT, please make sure that you do so, even if there was no grant activity. And this next helpful tip, collapsing sections. So this is something that holds up users sometimes if they see a section and there's no questions there. Some of them have collapsible headings. So if you ever see a section that there's no questions associated with it, if you click on the actual header for that section, it will open up a section of all the questions. Sometimes the cursor will not change when you're hovering over the collapsible section, but if you click it on any blue or yellow headings, it will collapse or expand those different sections. And of course, if anything is missing within your data entry, go back to the data entry to expand all sections to access and complete all data fields. For the most part, every data field within the PMT is required, even if zero. So you want to make sure that you're entering all of your data, answering all of the questions and any sort of collapsible sections to be able to move forward and complete your report. For account creation, users with existing access to PMT, you can create accounts for others. This is a big help desk question that we also get a lot, wanting to add additional users. That's absolutely fine. Our first main point of contact is that primary grant award administrator that we get from Just Grants for each award. So that person should be set up with the initial account. And then that person who has access to the PMT can go to the profile page, select manage users, and they can add or delete users that have access to the account. So anybody who has access to the PMT has an account. You can contact them and see if they could go to the profile page and manage users to add and delete you or someone else. Or, of course, you can always contact the BJA PMT help desk, but you have access and control of being able to manage your own users to access the PMT. And then here we have our PMT help desk contact information. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We are closed on federal holidays, and we do strive to return every email and phone call within 24 hours. So please don't hesitate to send us an email, even if it's after business hours. Please contact us if you have any questions about getting access to PMT, navigating PMT, entering performance data in PMT, or resources about performance reporting, as well as how to create a report in the PMT. And then here we have a list of our available resources, most of which I believe have already been put into the chat. This will provide you with a lot of information with several important resources, including specific performance measure questionnaires. So if you'd like to have a list of all your program performance measures in one, PDF document, all of that is there. We also have our frequently asked questions, such as the ones we're going through today. And data entry resources are all available on the BJA Performance Measures website. You can also access recent training videos that have more in-depth information about performance measures, the PMT, and those are also divided by specific programs. We've also included the website address for Just Grants. This is where you'll be able to find a lot of resources about this separate system, along with the Just Grants Help Desk email address. And here is the Just Grants Help Desk number and email address again. So after you've completed all of your past and current reports in the PMT, all of your reports are showing as complete, even if there was no grant activity. The PMT is going to generate an aggregate 6-month or semi-annual report in PDF. This occurs in January, July, and at the close of your award. You're going to have to upload an attachment of this report to the coinciding reporting period performance report that's due in Just Grants. So any questions about access to, navigating, or completing your performance report in Just Grants, we ask that you please contact the Just Grants Help Desk. We can get you through the PMT, but from there, Just Grants will be able to provide you information on how to attach your PDF report from the PMT. You do want to be sure that when you're uploading your attachment to Just Grants that the award number is the same and the reporting period matches what's in PMT. I will go ahead and drop a link into the chat to a recorded e-learning video on how you can upload attachments to Just Grants, which can also be found on the Just Grants website under Training for Performance Reporting. So again, if you have any questions about Just Grants, your best resource is going to be the Just Grants website address and the help desk for Just Grants.
Thanks, Liz and Alicia, for that information. Really helpful. And I also, Liz mentioned a couple of resources. There's a link up in the chat that we should be able to post again, the BJA Performance Measure website. But in addition to those resources, we also have TTA. So in addition to this training that we presented today, we have the ability to provide some more intentional TTA to you all if you have additional questions about reporting. Feel free to reach out to me or Christina if you have any specific TTA needs about reporting. So with that being said, we'll transition to our Q&A session. I see a couple of questions have come in already. We'll answer the questions in the order that they are received. One question that came in was about obtaining the original link to join the PMT site, adding a user and becoming enrolled was one of the first questions that came in. So Liz or Alicia, if you want to address that one very briefly.
I can take it. So if you're a new user, which happens often, staff changes and so forth, you can contact us at the BJA PMT Help Desk and we can set up an account. What would be really helpful when you do contact us is we need to have your grantee name, your grantee organization name, and your award number so that we can link you up to the correct account. But if you also know who might be the primary POC with that award listed as the Grant Award Administrator in Just Grants, that person hopefully should also have access to the PMT to access the award. And also, as Alicia mentioned, if it is a new award and it hasn't been accepted yet, it may not be in the PMT. So we regularly update the PMT, working with our development team to get those awards into the system from Just Grants. So make sure that your award's been accepted. If it is a new one, if it's an existing award, probably in the system, we just need that award number and your grantee organization name so that we can link you up to the correct account.
Excellent. Thanks, Liz. Next question that came through, the question is asking about the type of grants that are submitted through the PMT. It looks like this person's a new user, and so they have a question about the types of reports that are submitted through the PMT.
So you'll be able to find all that information on BJA's website. The site is usually broken down by program, so you'll need to know which award your program is associated with. Not all BJA programs and awards report in the PMT. There's only select programs, and there's also a resource that we have. It's a one-pager that indicates all the programs that we do have reporting in the PMT and those that should report directly in Just Grants. So you'll need to to know which program your award is associated with to understand its reporting requirements. But all of that should be broken down within the BJA performance measures website for you.
Excellent. Thanks, Liz. Another comment that came through, it would be helpful to have a Word version of the PMT questions for grant data collection purposes.
At this time, we do not have that type of resource available. However, I think there might be a way you could take a PDF and convert it into a Word. We also do have, for some of our programs, tracking sheets in Excel, but that's only for a select few. So if you're having any trouble with the PDF, maybe you could contact us at the PMT Help Desk and we can try to walk you through how to get a more user-friendly version.
Excellent, thank you. Next question that came through, can multiple people from the same agency be on the PMT system?
I'll take that as well. Yes and no. So you can have as many users as you'd like added to the account to have access to data entry and the reporting. However, we do have a security setting within the system that prevents multiple users from logging in at the same time. This essentially is built because we don't want, one person in there and another person going in and overwriting one another's data entry. So when you're in the system and you're logged in and you've finished with your session, you will always want to remember to hit the log out option that's in the system on the upper right corner of your screen when you're in the PMT and hit log out. And this will end your session and allow other users that have access to the account to access data entry and the reporting.
Excellent, thank you. Next question, which I know we have limited information on that, but I think, Liz, you might be in the best position to answer this one too, about plans to merge PMT into JustGrants.
Right. So at this time, we're still unsure of when that actual transition will occur. We're, still in communication with the JustGrants team and trying to get as many features and functions that we're used to seeing in PMT and get those available in JustGrants. So until that happens, we're going to keep the PMT operational, business as usual, and you'll continue to report in the PMT if you have been, and take that extra step in taking the PDF report from PMT and uploading it as an attachment when it's due to the award.
We have another question that came through asking about the late date to award. Will PMT due dates be postponed? Think about asking reporting dates, I think.
So a reporting schedule in PMT will remain the same unless there's any sort of issues with JustGrants. I know last year we were, JustGrants as it launched was having some issues and delays, so we also delayed our reporting in PMT, but for the most part, our reporting remains the same in PMT since it's a separate system from JustGrants. So we hope that you continue to report your data quarterly every 3 months, and then every 6 months take a copy of that PDF report from the PMT and upload it to JustGrants when it's due.
And then another question that came through about a PMT guide for sub-grantees to navigate the system.
Nobody used to have one of those. I don't know if we still do. So that's something we might have to get back to you on.
Next question that came in was about directing questions, specific program questions. Who should they contact if there's ambiguity or questions about some of the metrics about their specific grant?
I would suggest reaching out to your program manager or grant manager at BJA, as well as, letting us know at the PMT Help Desk if you have any issues or questions about the specific measures themselves, and we can work with you on how to best respond, if I understood the question correctly.
Excellent. Next question came in about email contact for the PMT Help Desk and the phone number. That we can put that, I think we can put that in the chat for you if it's not already in the chat. And we'll also follow up after this presentation with our contact information for the Help Desk, our TTA, and our analysts as well. So.
And then to piggyback on that, Kerwin, as you're working through the PMT, the email address and phone number can be found at the bottom of every page.
Excellent, thank you. Next question that came through, when tabulating the Number testing positive, do we only report the number positive and do not include no-shows, missed appointments, etc., only positives? I think that's more of a specific program question, but anyone wants to take a stab at it?
This is Jimmy. I can take a quick stab, only to say I think we'll need to follow up with you on that one. So questions that are very specific to a program, if we don't follow up here, after this training, always send those types of questions to the PMT help desk, and they can route those types of questions to the lead analyst for that program. And then, we don't have specific enough guidance, and we can always loop in programs or policy staff within BJA to answer your questions. So we will follow up with you on that. But then any other types of questions in the future that are very specific to your programs, please send those to the help desk, and we will follow up with you there.
Thanks, Jimmy. And to piggyback back off of that as well, our contact information, we'll send that out following this via email to you all. You'll also get a copy of today's presentation. So the next question that came through was about submitting a quarterly report recently, but could not locate it on Just Grants. They indicating they uploaded it a few weeks ago. Some late reports due to staff turnover, and they are new to the system.
So I can take that. This is Liz. I think that there might be some confusion with the reporting period. So PMT collects performance data every 3 months or quarterly, and then every 6 months you have a performance report, or PR, that's due in Just Grants. So the PMT will automatically aggregate your past 6 months of data and create a aggregate PDF report, and that's the PDF report that you'll want to attach to the PR that's due in Just Grants usually, which is in January, July, or at the close of your grant. So you'll report quarterly in PMT and every 6 months, for the most part, in Just Grants.
I have another question that came in about the PMT to Just Grants migration. I know you addressed it earlier, but if you want to mention it one more time about just the information we have on that migration.
Yeah, at this time we don't have the firm date on when that transition or migration will occur. So when we do, trust me, everyone will know. But at this time we don't have a timeline on that.
Another question that came in about giving their staff access to all sub-recipients reporting into PMT. The person who asked the question currently having to add new staff individually for each sub-recipient, and they're looking for an easier way to do that.
I can try to take this one as well. I think what the question is, so when you create a sub-grantee or sub-recipient account in the PMT, the profile asks for a main primary POC, and when that account is added and data entry is allowed, that means that primary POC will receive initial access to the subgrantee and subawards within the system if your award and your program does allow for subgrantee reporting. And then just like your own grantee account is set up with a primary POC, that primary POC at the subgrantee level can also go in to their profile page to manage users and add additional users.
Question that came in the grantee asking about a PSN grant. We'll follow up with you individually about your question since it's program specific, so we'll note your question and we'll follow up with you via email. This question that came in, PDF report in January, July, and end of grants. Those are uploaded from PMT into Just Grants. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. You got it.
Question, is there a way to confirm if the PMT report is submitted properly in the Just Grants system?
Good question. I think, before you hit submit, when you're submitting your PR and Just Grants, you just want to make sure that the report, the PDF report that you have downloaded a copy of from the PMT, first matches the award number of the PR and also matches the reporting period. Once you've added an attachment to your PR and Just Grants, you should be able to see a copy of that And of course, if there are any issues and your grant manager needs something else, they'll certainly let you know. But before you hit submit in Just Grants for your PR, just make sure that you have everything attached, or anything that you need to report out in Just Grants before you hit submit.
Next question is asking about additional trainings. Yes, be on the lookout soon. We will be hosting additional trainings before the end of the year, following up on this information and also talking about some program-specific reporting requirements as well. The next question that came through is about the program-specific information listed in the BJA Program Performance Measures page. Will the correct one be listed and available when we sign in to begin our performance measures, or do we answer these separately?
I'll try to take this one. I'm not sure I understand exactly, but I think what they're asking are the measures that are posted on the BJA Program Performance Measures page, the same as what you'll see in PMT, and yes, they should be, depending on your program. The measures actually also, when you log into the PMT, are available on the Info and Resources page. So anything that you see based on your program and your performance measures posted should be what you see in the PMT. So we provide you with those resources so that you can plan, and essentially what we'd prefer is you collect your data using those resources, those questionnaires, prior to going into the PMT. So you'll have, you'll be familiar with the performance measures for your program, and you'll have your data ready so that when you do enter the PMT, you can enter that information more easily and be ready for reporting.
Next question that came in was about the training on 1014, if that one will be the same as this. No, it will not. That training will get into a little bit more specifics about JAG, DICRA, and SACI reporting. So stay tuned for that training as well. Will also be posted, so if you're unable to attend that, it will also be posted on the BJA multimedia site as well as the BJA YouTube channel. So question from Kate: What do we want to see for subrecipient data and financials?
This is Jimmy.
Okay.
We don't ask for any specific financials other than subgrant award amount for COSAP. But when setting up your sub-awards for COSAP, primarily what we're trying to get at is, who the sub-award grantees are, their sub-award amount, and then the types of activities that they would be performing as part of that sub-award. So beyond that, we don't ask for any other financials or anything more specific to the sub-award.
The next question is about semiannual, the semiannual narrative questions. Do you prefer to see all the previous semiannual narrative question answers and data in each new semiannual report, or do we just want data based on that grant reporting period?
This is Liz. I can take that too. So for the semiannual narrative questions, really take a look at the questions, but for the most part, we're looking for that 6-month period of time. So any activities that occurred or need further explanation, you want to provide your grant manager any sort of information in response to those questions, or in addition to those questions, we are looking for the previous 6 months period of time, not just that quarterly reporting period that you see the narrative questions.
The next question, which is about Just Grants, I'll try to answer it as best as we can. Is there any plan in Just Grants to add a print feature that enables the user to print out various reports we've entered, such as the GAM or our semi-annual narrative reports?
This is Liz. I have heard that there are some plans to enable that feature, but the Just Grants help desk would be best in terms of answering those types of questions.
Next question, does BJA have templates in Excel for gathering data in preparation for BJA PMT reporting?
I can take that one. This is Jimmy. We have a few, not very many. Unfortunately, just because of the workload there's 30 plus, 40 plus programs going inactive at any point in time. We don't provide templates for all of the programs, but we do have a few. So you can reach out to the help desk if you have a specific program in mind, and we can see if we have that for you.
That's one question that might be helpful for those in here. I know Liz and Alicia, we've talked about it before prior to this, but what reporting tips do you all have for grantees that are close to closing out their programs? Do you have any tips for grantees that are close to grant closeout?
I think the biggest thing would be to just make sure that all the previous reporting periods are complete, and that data that's been entered isn't duplicated or anything throughout your reporting. Jimmy, I'll let you go ahead and take over the rest.
Yeah, the only other thing that I would add to that, if you have any closeout questions, so there are some programs that have questions that you only ask when you're getting ready to close out, or excuse me, that are only asked when you're getting ready to close out. You answer those the last time. If you have any of those within your measures, just verify that you do or don't, and then, obviously pre-plan some data collection around those closeout questions.
I have another one that came in, I think it's kind of related. Does the end of grant report, is it inclusive of all previous reports that have been uploaded as attachments?
So when you're closing out, the PMT will expect a last report based on the end date of your award, or if you're closing out early, you can indicate that this is your final report. So in addition to every quarter being asked whether there is grant activity, you should also see a question that asks, is this your last report? And if you check that box indicating it's your last final report, the PMT will automatically create an aggregate final data report in PDF since the start of your award. And that would be the final report that you will upload as an attachment. So you don't need to upload past reports. There might be some circumstances where you do, but most of you should see that final report option in an aggregate final report for you to then upload to your final PR in Just Grants. You know that when you're submitting a PR in Just Grants, you have the option of selecting whether it's a regular report or a final report. So just be sure that you're making that selection correctly and taking your last final report from the PMT and uploading that to your final report in Just Grants.
I encourage you all to check out some of the archive trainings that we have that address some program-specific stuff as well as some general reporting stuff as well. So definitely check that resource out. Give it a couple more minutes. I see one more question has come through. Do we always mark no activity if there is no financial activity in the quarter?
So the answer is no, not necessarily. It depends. You could certainly have grant activity, but not spend any funds. It could be planning activity. It could be, developing a strategic plan. It could be, gathering stakeholders and meeting about your project, upcoming project. So you don't necessarily always select no activity if you don't have any financial activity. So it is kind of dependent on what your activities are that have been funded. But it's not necessarily a default answer, although it is in most cases.
One more question came in. Do all the PMTs need to be completed for the JAG grants in PMT before Just Grants report can generate?
So yes, all previous reporting periods must be completed before you can create a current report.
All right, looks like we all good on questions. So once again, thank you all for participating and listening in. Again, for those that want information about Thursday's training, we'll follow with you individually and follow with you all if you have some program-specific questions as well. So thank you, and we will be in contact shortly.